Today was all about how the Chancellor was going to spend. And here is how her spending review looks compared to her predecessors, starting all the way back in 1998 when Gordon Brown developed a rather controversial counting system. Now, 2.3% is a far cry from the boom years of the Blair-Brown government, but it's also a long way from austerity. So let's look at the big picture for today. The government is topping up spending in key departments like health, partly through cutting the aid budget and partly through squeezing Whitehall to come up with an extra £14 billion of savings. And because they borrowed more, there was more investment cash to go round. But let's break down how much is day-to-day spending, like nurses and teachers, and how much is capital investment in things like hospitals and nuclear plants. And also remember, 15 out of 24 departments saw their budgets grow day-to-day. But the big winner was undoubtedly health. That's been the trend for the last 25 years, where the NHS has taken an increasingly large portion of the pie. The Resolution Foundation did its own calculations today, saying that over 4 years, 90% of the spending increase goes to health. But it's not just health. Look at defence, education. They also get extra money. But there are some significant cuts in departments like transport, down 5%. The government says this is because rail services don't need as much subsidy. But then look at the Home Office. That sees its budget shrink by 1.7%. Unless it can deliver on scrapping those asylum hotels. So there's this sword of Damocles hovering over the Home Secretary. Now, it's a very different picture when you look at capital, where the government are spending an extra £113 billion. And while health investment does well over the entire Parliament, have a look at this. Over the review period, it doesn't grow at all. And that is because the lion's share goes to defence, a stonking 7.3% uplift each year. But that's not all. Look at energy, transport. They're mega winners. And that tells you the government's priorities are all about economic infrastructure rather than social project. And that's because what the Chancellor wants more than anything else is growth. So what's next? The Chancellor stayed within her spending envelope, unlike many before her, but she still faces some big challenges in the autumn. She's been clear that she's going to stick to her fiscal rules, and while her spending plans may not derail them, the UK's faltering growth prospects may prove more problematic. Not to mention our debt interest bill, which already has a £105 billion sting in its tail. And don't forget, she still has to push through her welfare changes through Parliament, where many MPs are hostile. And if the numbers don't add up in the autumn, then many forecasters suggest it means the Chancellor could have to rethink putting up taxes, something she promised not to do.